So I'm wondering if I should read you my resignation letter or tell you what happened first. I'm going to tell you what happened first. This guy, Chuck, the, the the bully, he's a bully. Bully. This is his MO. He would come in before I came in, and he would come in and sit down and just stare at the staff and watch them work. He's a board member. I'm like, that's creepy. The staff told me, yeah, Chuck just like came in and sat down. He didn't say a word to us. He didn't say, hi, how you doing? I need to go look at this or that, because sometimes, like, if we are needing help with the heating or cooling, they'll be coming in to check things out. He just sat there and watched them work. And his wife, him and his wife, his name's Chuck, her name's Emily, and they're just like she's always like attached to him by some little tether. And all she does is, like I said, quietly agree with everything he says. She has no self-esteem, no self-preservation, or maybe that is her self-preservation. But anyway, he and her would come into the shelter, not say anything, not, hey, how you doing? Just kind of check on, make sure the AC's still working. Nothing like that. Just come in and start opening doors and looking and watching what people are doing and then leave. And I told the president of the board, I said, I have to talk to you about something. It's just something that's kind of creeping the staff out, and we really don't need that supervision that you just take upon yourself. I'm here, and like one time I knew he was doing it, and he would do it early in the morning because he knew I came in later, because I didn't have to clean cages or anything like that. I had to answer email and crap. And so, but one time I came in early and he was there, and he like started to panic, and because I had come early and he was there, and he was like flustered, and I don't know what he was doing. Okay, so that's Chuck. Where's poor little Emily? I don't know if I need her. Okay. Might have to put these together or do them separate because I'm still learning how to use this. Okay, so typical Friday. On Friday, a volunteer she just comes in on Friday with me, and what I do with her is the new dogs, we do a behavior assessment to see if there's any hidden behavior problems we need to know about, which helps us in placing the dogs. And I still talk like I work there, but okay. And so I am there, and Friday volunteer is there. Ashley, the staff member, is there, and Rhonda. Now, Rhonda has already told me, because I guess she heard that she keeps going behind my back to the vet and about these animals, and I talked to the vet, and the vet's going, this is driving me crazy, because I told her, yeah, you can go ahead. They want you to just drop off the dog. Instead, she calls the vet and wants to make an appointment for her to be there with the dog to hear what the vet says. And then the vet calls me and she's like, she's trying to make an appointment for her to come with the dog and me to tell her. And I'm not reporting to her. I'm communicating to you as the manager. And this is getting out of hand because it wasn't the first time it happened. And so, and she cried, of course, because she cried every day for everything. And said, oh, I don't mean to go behind your back and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's cool. We're cool. I just would appreciate it if there is something you're concerned about that you come to me first. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So, it's not gonna, yeah. Okay. So we have a dog. I didn't even make it. We have this dog. And this dog is not uncommon. He runs back and forth in his kennel. The bottom is cement. Um, he's young, he's a little hyper. And people come in to walk and he sees the leashes and they all get excited. And some dogs just have really thin paw pads. And he plays in his water, so we're battling constant wetness in his kennel. You have to keep it squeegeed, but he has thin paw pads, and so the surface starts to erode away, and it bleeds a little bit on there, and it's not an uncommon problem. And long ago, I had asked the vet about that, and she was really just cover the entire kennel with a thick, soft blanket absorbent to absorb the water, cushion the thing, and that's how we had dealt with it every time we got a dog that did this. But this is the first time that Rhonda has seen this, okay? And so she thinks this dog is like hemorrhaging or something. And she also thinks it's from him jumping on the gate and that he's frantic. And I took video of this dog, and he was no more active than any other dog. And so, because she said she was not going to go behind my back, she calls her husband, Tim, who's a board member, and tells him that there is this dog that is so frantic in his kennel that his paws are bleeding all over the place. And Tim is very busy. He cannot take care of it. So he calls Chuck to mishandle the situation. Chuck calls me while I'm in the middle of doing assessments. But I answered the phone because my volunteer was walking the dog outside. And he said, I came to know about a dog that is so frantic and his feet are bloody everywhere. I mean, it's like this really dramatic, over the top description of what is going on. And I'm wondering how he knew about this dog since he had not been there that whole day. And so, and I knew that before he had called, staff member Ashley had said, hey, Duke has his kennel all bloody again. And I told her what to do. Put the blankets down, cover his cage door so he doesn't get so aroused, and, make sure. But I hadn't checked her work yet, so I didn't tell him what I'd done, but I just said to him, I wanted to know how he knew about this dog since he'd never, and I kind of knew why already. And I said, can I ask how you came to know about this dog. And he paused and then said, Tim. So that means crying volunteer called her husband board member, and then he called another board member to tell me to, anyway, I said, okay. I said, all right, I'll take care of it. Because I knew exactly what to do. I'd already had it done. And he said, well, will you call me and let me know what you do? And I thought that was really weird. And so I was like, okay. But I mean, this dog wasn't like bleeding to death or anything. And it was already addressed. And this volunteer that comes on Friday, she volunteers her time to come here. And we were on our last dog. So I'm going to finish this dog. I'm going to go check to make sure Ashley put the right kind of blankets down. And then I'll text him that this is what I did and it worked. Just like it always does. Okay? And so we're in the middle of assessing this last dog. And Ashley comes in, staff member. And you're not supposed to interrupt the assessment, but this was important because she said, did you know that Chuck is here and he is attaching some sort of thick plastic that you can't see through on the dog's door? I'm like, well, I said, could you please just tell him that that's fine for now? But if there's going to be something up there permanently, it will have to be clear because we need to be able to observe all the animals at a quick notice. And when people come through to look at animals and look at the dogs, they're going to wonder why this dog has this big black plastic thing. He'll never get adopted that way. Anyway, so my volunteer is off walking a dog. Ashley's in the hallway. She can hear this. And here's me. I am in this room where we do the assessments. And there's a wall behind me. So I'm right, and there's a cabinet right here. And I'm holding this poor basset hound on a leash. So I'm right here. And here comes Chuck. Okay, so I have nowhere to go. There's a wall behind me. There is a bookcase beside me. I have nowhere to go. Because he came at me at an angle. And he starts yelling at me. Honestly, the man just totally lost his shit about this. He wanted to know why I hadn't called him, returned his call. And I said, well, I wanted to finish this last assessment and I was going to shoot you a text because, it was already taken care of. It's not that big of a deal. It's a pretty common problem. And he starts yelling at me. Wait, I gotta have my thing. He start yelling in my face. He had stuff in his hand. Otherwise, he would have been pointing. So he's pointing with stuff at me, at the thing. And he's like, I shouldn't, he said, I needed to know by a certain time before the lumberyard closed You should have called me right back. I said, I'm sorry you didn't tell me you were in a time frame, and I'd already taken care of it. And um, if I had known that you were, waiting to try something else and it was time sensitive, I would have called you right back. I said, but you didn't tell me that. And he said, I shouldn't have to tell you. It should be understood. I was like, oh my God, this guy is such the biggest asshole I've ever come across. And then he would start to leave and get mad again and come right back. And then he wanted to know why I hadn't told him that I had already addressed it. And I'm like, I just said I'd taken care of it, but I hadn't evaluated the staff members' actions. I just told her what to do, and sure enough, she had put blankets down. They just weren't the best for that need, and I picked out different ones and I put them down. And that actually was the first thing he asked me was, did you put those blankets down? I'm like, well, I picked them out and gave them to Ashley to put down. Okay, why didn't you call me back? So then it was, why didn't I tell him I'd already taken care of it? And I told him because I had not checked Ashley's work yet. And I wanted to do that and then text you so I could give you accurate information. And so he goes stomping off again, and then he comes back and he starts yelling at me, and I'm like, I'm sick of this. This is just, I'm not. He's like, every time I tried to say something in defense of myself, he would say, don't you interrupt me. Don't you interrupt me. And I'm like, I am not playing this. I might be, well, I'm not tiny anymore. I gained a little weight, but I'm small, but I don't, I, I'm not playing this game. And so, I'm not being your victim. So I said, I'm not talking about this to you anymore. And I turned to the side and he started yelling again. And I said, I told you I am not saying another word. And he rushed up and got right in my face. And he said, I cannot believe how distasteful you have handled this situation. You should have called me right away. That dog could have needed to see a vet. I was like, a vet? His feet were a little bloody. We solve it. It's common. And he's like, your behavior is disgusting. And how you handle this is distasteful. He just kept saying disgusting and distasteful. Look, my face is getting red. And so, and he said, and personally, and I know you will agree that what he said next was to be taken as a threat of my employment. He said, I am taking this to the board. I am going to make sure that every board member hears about how disgusting and distasteful your behavior has been. And like this poor basset hound sitting there. And I was so proud of myself because I didn't cry in front of him. He left. I dropped the leash to the dog. I went and gathered my stuff and told Ashley and the volunteer that I had to go home now. Bye. And so I went home. And at home, I talked to president of the board over the phone and told her what happened. And she told me to send an email describing what had happened. The vet found out what happened and she tried to contact me, but by then I was like, no, I'm okay. I mean, I'm very unhappy about what happened, but I'm okay. And then things changed. I'm going to go on to a number 3 video.